All right, so today we're talking about why young men are checking out of society, why they are dropping out, why they are not participating, what they're doing instead, and we'll talk about some statistics and solutions. So, starting off with the statistics to back up this claim, you probably hear a lot about this in the media. Male loneliness epidemic, male laziness epidemic, but a lot of people don't say why. They just say, men, bad. Why is this? So 60% of men under 30 are single. Okay, so the majority of young men, 18 to 29, don't have a girlfriend, don't have a relationship, and this has only been an increasing trend. Early on in mid-1900s, 1950s, the majority of men were married by 25 or 30. Now, marriage is, you bring it up to young men, it's almost a laughing issue because, divorce, no-fault divorce, feminism, just gender wars, all of these things. So 57% aren't even looking for a relationship. So 60% of men under 30 are single. So you might think, oh, well, maybe they're trying, they just haven't found the right person. Well, 57% of them don't even care, aren't even trying anymore, are apathetic, don't have any drive to look for, a girlfriend or a significant other because of a lot of economic, social, mental issues that we're going to unpack. Okay, so over half aren't even looking of young men. On top of that, we see that roughly 30% of 25 to 34-year-old men are living with their parents. Okay, now it really depends how you break this down. It's higher in higher cost of living cities. For example, I live near D.C., Washington, D.C., and, things are very, very expensive, so you have to either have a lot of roommates, live with your parents, or just have a really kick-ass job, okay? So it might be lower in the Midwest, right, where things are cheaper. There's not as much kind of demand ramping up the prices, right? And so this trend has also only increased especially since the 80s, where a lot of men by really after college age would, be out into the world. But now, post-college age, right, after 22, 23, even people in their early, mid-30s are struggling and can't afford rent, can't afford housing, can't afford a car payment and food and all these things that have skyrocketed since COVID, right, with inflation. So they're stuck living at home. So, on top of that, we see a lot of younger men, 25 to 34, have been dropping out of the labor force, so not participating in labor force. We've seen a negative 700K or 700,000 basically decrease in labor force participation for younger men since 2004. Okay, so this could be looked at a few different ways, right? This primarily, I believe, if you look at the Bureau of Labor Statistics, they look at how many people on payroll that they account for. So maybe some of this is just point blank men not working, not trying, not looking, being a NEET, right? Not in education, employment, training, or so not even looking or trying. Or this could be younger guys going their own way, doing their own thing, making money online, starting their own business, so it's not reported as, so on someone's payroll, okay? But this is a pretty clear trend that fewer men, younger men, are working jobs, okay? So some of the root causes, right? These are some of the statistics, both relationship-wise, economic-wise. We can unpack a lot more of that. I have a lot more of these topics on my YouTube channel talking about men, college enrollment, and income, and all these other things. But let's talk about some of the root causes. So a lot of this is men falling behind in college and in corporate America, or corporate promotion. Okay, so women are now outpacing men in both college enrollment and college education completion. So it's 60% female now, 40% male. This is only an increasing trend. So college is more female dominated, and men are actually dropping out of both enrollment and completion. So women in college graduate at a 10% higher rate than men. So not only are they enrolling more, they're also completing four-year educations more. On top of this, although this is a bit of more dated as time goes on, data with a college degree, you see on average a 75% income increase over people who don't graduate. So college education versus just high school education. If you're college educated, on average, a 75% increase in lifetime earnings compared to those who only finish high school. Okay, so another point here is corporate promotion and kind of a bit of sexism in corporate America. So I work in corporate, and a couple of things I notice, and statistically, you're twice as likely to be hired, especially in corporate, if you're female. This is a study that's been done. If you put out applications on LinkedIn or online, people with a female name is twice as likely to be hired as that of if it's a male name on the application. Okay, so men are being passed up. I looked deeper into whether women get promoted at a higher rate than men in corporate roles. It's actually not fully true. For every 100 men that get a promotion, roughly 81 women in similar roles see promotions. So it is harder, though, as a male, a younger male, to even be hired. Okay, and that's obviously the ultimate gatekeeping kind of goalpost is getting your foot in the door. So another root cause of why a lot of younger men are dropping out of participating in society would be wages have not kept up with inflation. Wages have been stagnant. They were increasing early 1900s until, I believe, 1979. The average, or the median male income adjusted for inflation was about 60K, 61,000. It's now like 60,000. So it's actually slightly dipped since the 80s. Okay, so wages are stagnant, and obviously inflation is on the top of everyone's mind, right? Because since COVID, we've seen house prices nearly double. We've seen car insurance and insurance go through the roof, more than double in a lot of cases. We've seen everyday household items. If you go to the grocery store and you're picking out your favorite meal, you see the price since COVID has gone up 20, 30, 40, 50%. And a lot of BLS statistics say, oh, no, it's only, 20% increase, or they talk about it by year, so you don't actually realize how much it compounds year over year. But bottom line is wages have not increased at all, really, and inflation has skyrocketed. So just the cost to stay alive, right? Rent, car, food, gas, insurance, all these things have outpaced your earning power. Okay. So another root cause would be degrees with no ROI are still pursued over other options, such as the trades, starting your own business, and everything in between. Okay, so a lot of people still believe and especially it is true still in corporate America that you mostly need a degree to even get in the door. But the prices of degrees for your college education has gone up by an insane factor of I don't know the exact number, but in the 80s a college degree cost roughly a few $1,000s, really depending on where you went, and now a degree can cost upwards of $100,000, and you're not necessarily getting much more benefit out of it, although on average, statistically in the past, you see a 75% increase in earnings, right? But now it's almost like everyone has a college degree, and so the bar is minimum, not high school anymore, it's now college, but the cost of getting a degree has gone up by a factor of 10 or more. It's gotten 10 times more expensive since the 80s. I believe it's actually more like 14 times more expensive. But then also wages haven't really gone up. So you get your degree, you're in a massive amount of student loan debt just to get a job that doesn't really give you a lot more buying power, especially with inflation. Okay, so another root cause, besides for economics, besides for kind of this wage gap, maybe a little bit of feminism in here, is health, right? So obesity being rampant. Everyone makes fun of Americans thinking, we all are 300 pounds morbidly obese, eat McDonald's every day, and sleep in our parents' basement on the couch or something like that, right? But it is kind of true that how you feel affects, it is very true that how you feel affects how you perform and your outlook on life. So obesity, low testosterone, bad sleep, and diet all equal low drive, right? Because if you don't feel good, you don't do well. And so with obesity, this affects your testosterone rates. The more fat you have on you, the more it converts to estrogen. The less drive you have, the less you want to work, push through things. And if you're not sleeping well and you're gaming until 2, 3 a.m. and then sleeping until noon and your circadian rhythm's all screwed up, and then if you wake up and you eat cereal and Pop-Tarts for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, so you feel like shit, then you're not really going to want to do anything besides scroll on social media, play video games, and jerk off, right? So health is a big root cause. People aren't educated on diet. They don't care or know how important sleep is, and they don't lift weights, and they're not active. So another root cause of this is the dating market nightmare. I've put out topics about this on my channel. I've been kind of staying away from this because it's so toxic, but essentially with dating apps, with the globalization of the dating market because of social media and a bunch of other factors, hypergamy, or the idea of you wanting someone who is a higher attractiveness level than you. Say you see yourself, although no one really sees himself, as average 5, 6, you want to go after the 8, 9, 10, right? And so with women, what statistics have shown, especially on Tinder and these other dating apps, is 80% of them only swipe right on the top 10, 20% of guys. That's kind of being generous. It's more like the top 1%, 5% of guys who look like Chad, who are rich, who are famous, all these things, okay? So that means, by definition, 90% plus of guys get ignored. And so, especially on dating apps, if you're an average dude, and you get, you pay for Tinder Premium and all this junk, and you get no play, you get frustrated, and you drop out of even participating, which is why these statistics are relevant, right? 60% of men under 30 are single, and 57% of them aren't even looking because they've tried this and it doesn't work, okay? So, a subset of that is marriage rates under 30 are abysmal, okay? The marriage rate in the 20s was, with men under 30 was, by the time they turned 30, it was like 70% of them. Now it's like men who are 30 now, it's barely like 30% of men are married, let alone married and own a home and have kids, with all of the expenses that you have to incur and mental hurdles to get through that. Marriage rates have just plummeted, okay, and they continue to go down because of no-fault divorce, because of economic factors, because of mental issues and all these other things, okay? So 15% of men report 0 close friends. That's a statistic that is more recent, whereas in 1990 this was only 3%. So we've seen a 5 times increase in men who say, I have no friends. And if you just go outside and look, like when I was a kid, everyone would play outside, right? And now everyone's on their screen, in their bed, in their home, scrolling, and they don't want to even go outside because that's boring, right? So because of this isolation, right, with technology, which is supposed to connect us, but it ends up apparently driving kind of people away from each other and isolation. So those are some of the statistics, right? Some of the root causes. The real world impact essentially drives men to check out, right? To stop playing because they see the game as rigged, right? If I can't make money, if I can't find a girlfriend, wife, if I can't buy a home or get anywhere, like why even try, okay? So that ends up, just being kind of Peter Pan syndrome, staying at home, being immature, essentially gaming 5+ hours a day, and then just spiraling downwards. So, with all that doom and gloom, with all of that said, here's the uncomfortable solution, all right? Whereas maybe our fathers could, on one income, raise 2.6 children, own their home, own 2 cars, on a single income, it's not really the case anymore. So things have to change. So first and foremost, so let's break it down into 3 steps here. If you have nothing, if you feel like shit, you've probably mistreated your body. So building your body up is the first thing. It's the first step. It's the most natural for younger men to do when you have the most energy, right? And so what you should be focused on to reverse kind of all this decay and things of that nature is lift heavy at least 3 times a week, or play a sport, or start a martial art, and be active and not just on your ass sitting around all day long. Diet, clean your diet. Track, you don't even have to track, but think about your macros being protein, carbs, and fat. So for me, I eat ground beef and rice at least 10 times a week. And I don't have to think about it because there are my macros right there, okay? So throw out the Pop-Tarts. And then on top of that, sleep. Get good quality sleep, at least 7 to 8 hours in 100% darkness, in a cool room, and no noise, ideally. That is how you optimize your sleep, okay? So I'm a big fan of combat sports. I think they really drive you to progress and have more self-confidence, and it's practical, and it gives you a good community of real men, right? And so I am a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt. I've been training for almost 8 years, and it's helped me out a lot. So Jiu-Jitsu, Judo, wrestling, Muay Thai, anything. Just try it out. Don't be a pussy, okay? So build your body first. That'll help increase testosterone. And then from there, once you have the confidence and you feel better, you can start thinking about making more money, right? So learn a high income skill. Learn, software engineering. Learn about investing. Learn about sales. Learn about marketing. Learn about psychology. Learn about building a business. Put more effort into that, right? Build multiple income streams, right? Maybe start experimenting with starting social media pages, starting a e-commerce business, something, right, to get you going. And then ultimately you're doing this so you can save money to invest, right? You're not just doing this to buy a Lamborghini and flex it and then live happily ever after. That's not really how life works. You're doing this so that you can invest so that you can be free, so that you can buy your time back, and so that you can develop yourself as a person and not be a slave to a 9-to-5, right? So on top of that, you have to learn to master your time and your mind, right? So if you just sit around and you just think, oh, what's going to happen to me today? You're going to be reactive. You're not going to have a clear focus. So you want to think about limiting social media, gaming, vices. Instead, replace that with going after real life goals, right? And become more productive. Because at the end of the day, you have to realize no one is coming to save you, especially as a man, unless you are fortunate enough to have rich parents or grandparents, and you need to forge your own path forward. Click the video appearing on your screen, and I'll see you on the next one.